Okay, we're looking at the workbook, chapter 2.1, so using imperial units for length. In all of the chapters, there's a beginning part called the try these. Really, it's just some skills that you'll end up using within each separate chapter. So we'll do these quickly. Half times 10, try these without a calculator. So thinking about, just think about half of 10. Sometimes you might want to think about it in terms of money. Half of 10 is $10 is $5, right? So that's 5. Or you can think about the whole process of fractions. That's 1 times 10 is 10, over 2 times 1 is 2, 10 over 2 is 5. Okay, all of these for imperial units, most of the fractions used have denominators of 2, 4, 8, 16. Those are the most common. So 1/4 of 24, really, again, you can think about, well, that's the same as dividing 24 by 4, so that's 6. Half of 1,760 means you're dividing this by 2. So again, without a calculator, you can think about dividing by 2. 2 goes into 17 8 times with 1 remainder. Bring down the 6. So that's 88. Bring down the, sorry there, bring down the 0, so 880. Okay, then the next one, this is 3/4, so you do it again. Try without a calculator. You want to divide 5,280 by 4. So when you do that, you can just do that on the side. 5,280. So it goes in once. Down the 2. Goes in 3 times. Down the 8, that goes in twice. Down the 0, and that's 0. Okay, so 1,320 is this, and then you want to multiply by 3. So again, try this without a calculator. You will be allowed a calculator on tests for this unit, but you do want to practice without. So multiplying through, you get 3,960. Okay, so just in terms of if you do use a calculator, maybe I should go through that. So here I have a calculator out. In terms of using fractions within a calculator, really you don't need a fraction key. Some calculators have them. In this, let's do this one here, a half. So you can go 1 divide by 2. You can either enter on that or just press multiply by 1,760. Okay, and you will get the answer. Next one, you can go 3 divide 4. I'll do this slightly different. Find the decimal form of that and then multiply by 5,280. Okay, if you have a calculator like this one, a graphing calculator that allows you to do fraction form, and again, it depends on the version of it. So in this calculator, if I go alpha y equals, that's the fast way to get a fraction. Okay, and then I can put 3, arrow down, 4, arrow to the right, times 5,280, and get the same answer. Really doesn't matter, right? This just has the fraction form. Okay, so that's just the try these. Let's talk about imperial unit of measure. You've learned about this before in elementary school and junior high. It really came from way back when they had to have a reference, some way of measuring that was common, and so people decided to say that the inch, 1 inch was the width of a person's thumb, and they kind of made it in terms of an important person, a king, because kings were ruling everything back then, and so they, that's kind of where the word imperial comes from. And so a foot obviously is the distance of your foot approximately. Now all of our feet aren't the same length, but they decided to make it all one particular length for a foot, and then a yard is the length of a person's stride. So those were the most common. You can see here are the relationships between those. So inches is the smallest unit of measure, and then of course you can have fractions of an inch. Then foot, 1 foot is 12 inches, 1 yard is 3 feet, 1 mile is 1,760 yards. You don't have to have these memorized, but it sure helps. So certainly these, I would have those memorized. This one you may not remember. You will get these conversions on any test. And if you take a look in the back page, it's either in the front page or the back page, the inside cover, you'll see basically a whole page of conversions. So we'll look at that in a little bit. Okay, so write the 4 units of imperial measure above in order from largest to smallest. So inch is the smallest, and then foot, then yard, and then mile. They're in a chart, so they're in order. Take a look at the abbreviation. So inch, IN, period. Foot, you don't need the period. Yard, you don't need the period. Mile, you don't need the period. Mile is MI as opposed to just M, which is meters. And then also a common notation for inches and foot is this quotation mark for inches and apostrophe for foot. So just be aware of that. Okay, so how many inches are in a yard? So we know from our chart that 1 yard is 3 feet, and for each of those feet, there's 12 inches. So that means we want to multiply 3 by 12, because there's 12 inches in a foot, and so multiply those out, you get 36 inches in 1 yard. So that's a good thing to remember, but you can always use these conversions if you need to. How many feet are in a mile? Well, 1 mile is 1,760 yards, and each yard is 3 feet. So you just multiply 1,760 by 3. That one, you can get out your calculator if you need to. So 3 times 1,760 is 5,280. Okay, and that's a conversion. Those conversions you'll see quite regularly. Next page, it says Colin is 5 feet 11 inches tall. So there's that notation. So this is feet, and this is inches. You always put feet before inches. And actually, you don't need the period, I guess. How tall is Colin in just inches? So basically, we already have that, but we need to convert the 5 feet to inches. So the workbook, you'll find as you go through it, it does set out steps that you can follow. Sometimes we'll do our own steps. They're a little bit faster, I feel, and easier to understand. Sometimes we'll use what they have, and that's what we're going to do here. So how many inches are there in 5 feet? Well, remember, each foot is 12 inches, so we want to multiply 5 by 12. So that's 60 inches. And then total height, then we want to add the 60 inches that represents 5 feet, add the 11 inches, so that's 71 inches in total. Okay, then let's take a look. If you ever look at an imperial ruler, which many of you might have both metric and imperial on a ruler, you can see each inch is divided into 16 parts. If you have something more accurate, it'll divide into 32. More than that, you need special instruments to measure it because it's too small. And that's why we work with fractions a lot. Okay, you can see that this line here represents ½ an inch, and it's the longest of the lines. Then halfway in there, this one, actually all of these are kind of the same, and they represent they represent eighths of an inch. So that's 1/8, 2/8, which is 1/4. And then these here represent 1/16. Okay, so next example, Sandy is building a staircase with 8 steps. Each step is 7¼ inches high. So if you think about your steps like this going up, so each of these, and this is going to keep on going, right? Each of these is 7¼ inches. So what is the height in feet and inches? So when it asks for that, it doesn't mean give it in feet and then give it in inches. It means say it's 10 feet 3 inches, just like a lot of us say our height. My height is 5 feet 3 inches. That's how I say it in the imperial system. Some of you might use metric, so you're not used to that, but you've probably still heard people say, I'm 5'3", 6'1", that kind of thing. So that's really what this means, feet and inches. So again, the workbook is setting out some steps for us. So it says consider the whole numbers. So this is your whole number, right? That's 7. So how many whole numbers in all of the steps? Well, there's 8 steps. So the whole number is 7 inches times by 8, that's 56 inches in total for just the whole numbers. Then we have to consider the fraction, so that's 1/4 inch, and there's 8 of those. Because remember, really, this really means 7 plus 1/4. So we've got to calculate that. So 1/4 is 2, right? It's like dividing 8 by 4. And then the total height, we just need to add those together. So 56 plus 2 is 58 inches. Now, we're not done because that's completely in inches. So what is the height in feet and inches? Well, then we want to, this one we could have done kind of an easier way, but anytime you're converting from just inches to feet and inches, you want to take the total height and divide by 12 because there's 12 inches in a foot. Okay, so when you do that, so again, we can show this division here. I'll show you in your calculator in a sec. 12 doesn't go into 58 exactly, but it does go approximately 4 times. So 4 times 12 is 48. Subtract, we get 10, right? So we would have to put a decimal and so on. We don't want decimal forms. This is asking for the whole number, 4, and the remainder is 10, right? This is your remainder. This is your quotient. Okay, so that's your answer, 4 feet, 10 inches. Okay, so that's how you convert. If I told you someone's height was 61 inches, you divide by 12, you get 6 with a remainder of 1. So, sorry, not 6. You get 5 with a remainder of 1 for 61 inches. Okay, so that's the lesson. I do want to go through question 5 from the exercises with you. It says Riley bought 50 feet of rope. He cut off pieces that total, so basically I can draw kind of a piece of rope there, and then he cut off a piece that was 34. So let me just label this. So this black was 50 feet, and then the red is 34 feet 8 inches. Okay, and it says how much rope does he have left? So this is what we want to figure out here. Okay, so I would probably do very similar to the last question, because this is in feet and inches, and they're not 10 inches in a foot, so we can't just convert this to decimals. This is not 34.8. So that's a really important thing to remember, is there's 12 inches in a foot, so this is not 34, so this is not 34.8 feet. Okay, so if you can convert everything to inches, then that'll be easier when they're all in the same unit. So I'm going to keep this, I think, in red. So 34 feet there's 12 inches in a foot. So that's going to give you the inches in 34 feet. So I'm going to go 34 times 12. So that's 408. And then plus the 8 inches. So plus 8 is 416 inches. Okay, then in black here, 50 feet times 12 inches in a foot. That's going to be 600 inches. Okay, and so the difference, so amount of rope left over, that's going to be 600 minus 416. So 600 minus 416 is 184 inches. Now, it didn't say what unit to show it in, so that's the answer, okay, one version. Or you can convert that to feet in inches by going same method, 12 into 184. Okay, so 12 goes into 18 once, 6 remainder, bring down the 4, 12 goes into that, 5, remainder 4, right? So that's the same as 15 feet, 4 inches. Okay, so that's question 5 from the exercises. And that's it.